Okay. Introduce yourself.
So my name is RISHABH SHUKLA. I live in Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. So I did my graduation in civil engineering from IIT. After that, I started preparing for UPSC examination, and post that I gave other examinations like IBPS PO and IB ACIO. I cleared both of them, and currently I'm serving in Intelligence Bureau as ACIO, sir.
Oh, you have joined Intelligence Bureau. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you one or two questions on your civil engineering background.
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between hybrid annuity model and EPC?
So in the hybrid annuity model is a combination of EPC and the build and operate model. So the difference lies in the shareholding of the government and the private. In hybrid annuity
Shareholding.
model, uh,
Shareholding in what?
not exactly the shareholding, the kind of funding and the help given by the government.
Hmm.
So that is the difference. I will read more about it later, sir. I'm not very thorough in this.
Not very thorough with this. Okay. Now, what are the some of the main projects that are going on in the country? Can you name one or two?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. So one major project that has been going on is the Chenab Bridge, which is the world's tallest bridge, motorable bridge. So the main thing about that bridge is that so wind shear pressure is also there. So then there is other project like there's a project going on in which underwater tunnel is being built underwater of Hooghly in the West Bengal region. And so there is Bogibeel Bridge and the Bandra World Ceiling. So there are many projects going on right
Raparli
now.
Sea Link was is outdated now. Okay, what about bullet train? Have you heard of the bullet train project?
Yes, sir, definitely. So bullet train.
What, what are your views on that? Is that a viable project?
So I'm sure that the engineers and the government have taken it into account, the economic feasibility and the viability of the project, and it has served well in the countries like Japan. So I think that bullet train would serve as a viable project, but yes, it will definitely face competition from the airways sector because the tickets are getting cheaper, and with the government schemes like Udan. So I think there will be some competition. So we need to take that into account as well.
Okay, let us come closer to where you belong to. There is one expressway being built from Delhi to Dehradun.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are you aware of that?
So I'll read about this.
Okay, then what about Jewar Airport?
Yes, sir. I'm aware about the Jewar Airport.
What are the main characteristics of this airport?
So it is going to be the largest airport, one of the largest airports in Asia and definitely in India. So because there is a lot of demand going on for the airways and a lot of passengers coming in. So handling capacity of Indira Gandhi Airport is
Who is the concessionaire?
so I'm not aware, sir.
Now, let's move to the next panelist, Mr. Navneet Rajan. He's a retired IPS officer.
Good
Good
afternoon,
afternoon, sir.
sir. You are at present working with Intelligence Bureau.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask, under which act the Intelligence Bureau works? Is there any act under which it gets its power?
So I'm forgetting about
You're
this.
forgetting. Is
Yes, sir.
Intelligence Bureau word figures in, there are three lists in the Constitution, Union list,
Yes,
state
sir.
list, and concurrent list. Does
Yes,
the
sir.
words Intelligence Bureau occur anywhere in these three lists?
Uh, I'm not sure, sir.
You're not sure.
No, sir.
Okay. Under what law Central Bureau of Investigation works?
So Central Bureau of Investigation works under the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act.
Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. Does it
Yes, sir.
have pan-India jurisdiction? Can it work in or operate in any state on its own?
Sir, there is a general consent given by the uh, states, but recently there have been cases where few states have pulled out that general consent. But under the guidance, under the orders of the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court demands or the court demands, so CBI can work across the country.
Okay. I think you better read about it. Be very clear. Now, coming,
Sure, sir.
there is a lot of news about artificial intelligence, machine learning.
Yes, sir.
Uh, uh, how will it help in intelligence collection?
So artificial intelligence has been employed by the intelligence agencies. Recently, when I was working with the police establishments, so they told about the device which can recognize that whether a particular voice is of a terrorist, because they have analyzed certain behavioral patterns, the languages, and the kind of phrases used by them, and it is very accurate. So this way, artificial intelligence is being used in intelligence collection.
Then there are talks that it has a lot of negative things about it, and a lot of very known people have come out cautioning the world about the use of artificial intelligence and kind of pleading to them that we should be very, very careful in utilizing this particular field of science.
Yes, sir. So the issue with artificial intelligence is of accountability, and there are certain ethical concerns that are being raised because artificial intelligence and machine learning derive their power from the data, and the data can have a lot of biases. So the machine learns on its own from the data concerns. So those biases can come into those artificial intelligence as well. So these are certain concerns and that of accountability, sir.
You may be aware of the Ukraine war, are you?
Yes, sir.
Now, that has impacted the world politics, and recently, the NATO, the
Yes,
organization of Western countries, one new
yes, sir.
member has joined. Which is that new member?
Uh, so if I'm remembering it correctly, I think it is Norway.
Okay, okay. I think you better read about it. Now, there are recently crisis in a bank in America as well as in Switzerland. Can you name
Yes,
the
sir.
bank in America which underwent a bad situation, and also in the Switzerland?
Yes, sir. So it was the Silicon Valley Bank in the America, which has faced the crisis. And about the Switzerland, I'm not aware, sir.
Okay, Silicon Valley Bank. What was the crisis it faced? Why it ran into trouble?
As far as I'm aware, I'm telling if I'm wrong, sir, you can correct me, sir.
Okay, thank you, Rishabh. I think.
Next panelist is Mr. Nikhilesh Jha. He is a retired IAS officer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Rishabh.
Good afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Rishabh, please tell me if there is an interface between IB and NIA.
So in NIA, the people go usually on deputations. And yes, the inputs given by IB are gathered even by the NIA and they work upon that intelligence, sir.
So, IB doesn't send information regularly to NIA, is it? Only when asked.
So IB as an organization works on a need to know basis. And since I'm very new to the organization, I'm not very much aware of these happenings.
But does IB have field units to collect information?
They do have, sir.
They do have. So there is one question regarding the Punjab issue. You may be aware of the Amritpal Singh episode. So do you
Yes, sir.
think this was a failure of on the part of IB?
So the issue with intelligence agencies are that their successes are not very much known, but if something bad happens, so the failure comes onto them, the onus lies onto them, and yes, the accountability has to be taken. But in these kind of cases, there are a lot of actors at play. So intelligence bureau doesn't have a lot of executive power. So they have to give the input to the police forces and the other forces that are authorized to take action. So it has to be looked into what kind of fault happened, whether it was on part of intelligence agencies or the police forces. So this has not yet been ascertained, sir.
So no, the role of IB was nothing in the executive sector. It was only to provide timely information. Did
Yes, sir.
IB do this or not? This is the only thing I'm asking, or anyone would ask.
So IB might have provided information, as it was seen even in the murder of the Sidhu Moosewala case. IB had provided information that there is a threat.
No, let us confine to this case, Amritpal Singh case. No, don't jump to other case.
Okay,
Whether
sure, sir.
IB had provided timely information or not.
Sir, as I earlier said that since we work on need to know basis and we do not know about the other field units, I'm not aware of that, sir.
Okay, let us come to your subject.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
in the country, we have infrastructures to move freight and goods. Now,
Yes,
what
sir.
are the various modes that we are using in the country? And is there a problem with those modes? Please let me know.
So to move the freights, we are using all the sectors like railways, the waterways, roadways, as well as airways.
Okay.
So
Now, waterways, let us come to waterways. Now, is there
yes, sir.
any development in the inland waterways recently for
Yes, sir.
transportation, and what are the advantages of waterways over the railways or roads?
Yes, sir. So I will delve into this question, sir. So there have been the developments of national waterways, like National Waterway 1, and even in the
National Waterway 1 is from which point to which point?
so it is on the Ganga River. It is between the Haldia and I'm forgetting one place, sir. The
Okay,
initiating point. And so even in the northeast regions and in the southern regions, so we are developing national waterways. Now coming on to the advantages of these inland waterways. So the cost uh, per unit kgs and the per unit kilometers, if we calculate in the waterways, it is very much less. So we
okay,
say that the logistical cost in India is around 14% of GDP, while that of USA is around 7% of GDP. So
uh,
if we use national waterways, it will be of economical feasibility also. The other thing is, it is more cleaner to move freight via inland waterways.
very good. Yeah. But why is it that in spite of having so many advantages, our waterways is not developing on the pattern like Western countries or even China, US, Europe fully? So they have a large share of waterways in their goods transportation. But India, in spite of having so many rivers, India is not able to catch up. What is the reason?
So there are many reasons, like in the industrial revolution of these Western countries, so they relied mostly on, they did railways, roadways, but they relied heavily on waterways. But there are certain concerns as some in Indian continent. For example, in the Indian rivers of the northern plains. So there is a lot of sedimentation going on. So the scouring and the water clear is not there. And in the southern part of India, the peninsular India, there are a lot of topographical issues. There are a lot of waterfalls. So the continuity issue is also there. And the perennial rivers are lesser in the peninsular India. So these are so geographical concerns. But now we are developing on these and we are identifying the areas where the national waterways can be moved. So this has been going on, sir.
Okay, thank you. All the best.
Next
Thank you, sir.
panelist, Mr. Vijay Kumar. He's a retired IAS officer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Rishabh. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just tell as to how the study of geography helps mankind.
So geography is a very vast subject and it has a lot of applications to humans. Uh, First, if we start with the agriculture, so geography helps in the agroclimatic regionalization and we can do cropping according to that. The geography helps us in navigation. Like the monsoon winds were discovered and the trade started. That is because of the geography and identification of winds. So geography has led us to understand certain complex systems like monsoons, El Nino, La Nina, etc. And there are certain applications in human aspect like economic geography, identification of the minerals, and urban geography, planning of the urban areas, etc. So geography has a wider application, sir.
Okay. How do you explain the different uh, extent of ozone layer in different areas of planet Earth?
So the naturally found ozone layer is in the stratosphere, the lower strata of the stratosphere, and it helps us in the protection of the UV rays from the sun. But so ozone is also found in the troposphere, the lower levels, because of the pollution that are being created, like the NOx, nitrogen oxides. So when they interact with the pollutants and the air and in presence of sunlight, so ozone layer gets formed in the troposphere also, which is very harmful for the human health.
My question was, how do you explain the depth of stratosphere varying from 20 kilometers and going up to 80, 100 kilometers in different parts of Earth?
Yes, sir. So because of the low pressure on the equator, so air rises, and that's why the height of the troposphere, and that's why the stratosphere starts at a higher height in the equator region. But because of the higher pressure in the poles, because of the air sinking, so it is around 8 kilometers high.
Okay, and what about satellite navigation as far as geographical features are concerned?
Sorry, sir, I didn't understand the question.
You know, the satellite movement or satellite transmission
Yes, sir.
is guided by geographical features.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain it?
So, like the the gravity of the Earth, that plays a major role in making the satellites revolve around the Earth. Then there are certain depth at which, a certain height at which the satellites have to be placed, based on which we call them the geostationary or geosynchronous satellites. And so these satellites also make use of the layers like thermosphere, which is more ionized, so the waves can be propagated. So these are the geographical considerations that can be taken place while putting satellites onto the Earth's orbit.
Okay, thank you, Rishabh.
Next panelist is Colonel Daljeet Chima. He's a retired army officer as well as an educationist.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, Rishabh. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Rishabh, BHU has a special place in India's independence, and somebody very important was responsible for this. When was it established, and who was the person?
So BHU was established in 1916, and the person responsible was Mahamana Madan Mohan Malviya.
Okay. Now, please tell me that something happened in Joshimath and that area, and there was so much of hue and cry. After that, everything seemed to have settled. Now, whatever action we take now will have impact only after God knows how many years. But what
Yes,
can
sir.
be done now? Whatever has been damaged, as a civil engineer, how would the things be repaired or brought back to its use? What can be done?
So as we know that in Joshimath there was sinking of the houses and they were developing cracks. So there is a threat to the life and property. So as a civil engineering, as you already said, sir, that the impact has been done. What we can do is, since it is a highly seismic zone, it lies in the zone 5 and zone 4 areas. So we can do the retrofitting of the buildings, the old buildings. We can go for the jacketing of the beams and base isolation methods, and following the codes like IS 1893 for the new buildings. So that can be done. And for the people who have already been displaced and whose houses are not in the livable condition, they need to be rehabilitated, and they need to be provided for certain livelihood opportunities.
What is Uttarakhand government doing now?
So
Are you
I'll
aware
read
of
more,
it? What is being done by the government?
so I'll read more about this, what the government has been doing
All
in
right.
this regard.
You see, we have floods and droughts alternate in many parts of India.
Yes,
And
sir.
linking of rivers was an idea given in 60s by Dr. Vishwesharya. Why is it
Yes, sir.
not possible or feasible? Why can't we do it?
So linking of rivers, we are trying to do it. We are going on, it is happening in the Ken Betwa rivers, and many areas have been identified for that. But yes, definitely there are certain concerns with that also. There are ecological concerns like ecological flow can be disrupted, because of which livelihood of the people around, like the fisheries, can be impacted, and the flora and fauna can be impacted. So there are certain economical concerns as well, because it's a costly project. And the other issues are based on the topography. Like the peninsular India is at a higher height as compared to the northern plains. So this will also be brought into the consideration if we take into the economic aspects as well.
All right. Surveillance and collection of, information, intelligence gathering, collecting, collating, and then converting it into usable knowledge. It is a very big process. It takes a lot of time. And
Yes, sir.
more the number of agencies, armed forces have their own agencies, and IB and RA, and some internal and external additional agencies which common man is not aware of. There are some other agencies also, and I think you may know about it. Now, more
Yes, sir.
number of the agencies, more difficult it is to coordinate and get the things moving. Is our intelligence system also feeling that?
So there is definitely multiplicity of intelligence agencies, but these agencies have their own area of jurisdiction. Like in the regions of Kashmir, even the military intelligence is very important, and intelligence
Does
bureaus.
everyone report to NIA now?
Sorry, sir.
Does everyone report to NIA? Is it the central one agency where everyone reports to it?
Sir, I'll read more about this.
You're not aware of this, that why was NIA created and thing? Achha, I read something about your public relation in your DAF something. Please
Sir,
tell me what is the difference between propaganda and publicity? Broad, major difference between propaganda and publicity.
so propaganda is creation of a selective narrative among the people.
Biased. You mean biased. Am I right?
Biased. Yes,
Biased.
sir.
Whereas, all right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rishabh.
All the best to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.